my life. I crown thee now. Thine shall the glory be. Lest I forget thy thorn-crowned brow. Lead me, Jesus, to Calvary. Lest I forget how you prayed on Gethsemane in the garden. And lest I forget how you suffered your agony on Calvary.
Well, good morning. Good morning. It is an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. Good morning. This is Coach Sherry, Chaplain Sherry. This is your community pastor, Sherry. This is Sherry from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue. And you have joined me in 40 days to the cross. I pray that all is well with you and everything concerning you. I pray that last night was a good rest, that you didn't have any interruptions or disruptions through the night. Today is Lenten Day 7. We have been on this journey for 7 days, and I pray that your time has been a time of meditation, introspection, and observation. As we travel with Jesus to the cross, as we are seeking to be in alignment with of Jesus and to just experience a smidget of what Jesus may have endured. We have already established that we are not involved in a project, that we are not interested in checking off a box at the end of these 40 days, but we want to establish healthy practices of being, healthy practices of thinking, healthy practices of doing and speaking. So we're not here to say whether or not we failed or passed, because we are on a journey of becoming. And in becoming, there will be some rising and some falling. But I've been told that it doesn't matter how many times you fall, but it does matter how many times you get up. So on this 7th day of Lent, I have deviated some from the book, Britt Cole's book, 40 Days to Decrease. And I kind of like on some days go the way Spirit has led me to go. And today is one of those days. So today's fast is, we are putting in our repertoire of being, doing, and saying. We are fasting from doing unto others what we have not done unto ourselves. I'll say that again. Today's fast is, we are pulling back from doing unto others Catch this. What we have not done to ourselves. Now, Coach Sherry, what are you talking about this morning? The golden rule, Sherry says, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. But this is what I surmise. This is what I deduce. This is what I posit this morning. That we have not done unto ourselves, that we have not treated ourselves in such a way that we can ask others to do unto us. In other words, we have not treated ourselves well. Now, you do, Sherry wears that in scripture, because the golden rule says, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. But Jesus seems to really think it important, or places in high rank to how we treat God and how we treat others to how we treat ourselves. Many of us treat ourselves real raggedy. We don't take care of ourselves. That we run ourselves in the ground. Good morning, Joyce. We run ourselves raggedy. We don't eat well. We don't sleep well. We don't engage in Sabbath. But then we expect for other people to treat us right. But we have not treated ourselves right. Now, I am wondering, good morning, Reverend Donna. I am wondering if this has to do with we think that the only way that we could be good Christians is if we run ourselves ragged. I'm wondering if we think or we've equated being a good follower of Christ means that we do. We give out, we pour out, and we never expect anything to come in. We have this thing about humility. But in Luke 10, in the preface of the Good Samaritan, the reason why Jesus even goes into telling the story of, or the parable of, or the example story, or the illustration of the Good Samaritan is because a young expert of the law. Now, translation says it's a lawyer, but don't think a lawyer in the courtroom, but as one who was an expert in the Torah. And this expert tries to corner Jesus, trap Jesus, and we'll talk about this a little bit later also in our journey. But it tries to trap Jesus and asks, what is the greatest commandment? Now let me just tell you something. When you ask Jesus a question, you better already know the answer. And Jesus has this thing of turning the tables on you and asking you a question. Jesus answers the question with a question. And Jesus simply says, well, what does the law say? You tell me, you're an expert of the law. Well, of course, the lawyer goes in and says, to love your Lord, Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your mind, and to love your neighbor. With your heart, soul, and mind, to love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said, okay, well, go and do that. But of course, the lawyer wasn't satisfied with that, and he wanted to push it a little further. But what I'm interested in this morning is Jesus equates our love from God and our neighbor only emanates from how we love ourselves. Because he said, and you love yourself. How are you treating you? Good morning, everybody. If you are joining me for the first time, please understand that this has nothing to do with makeup. I'm not here for makeup tips, tools, or techniques. I am simply here doing what I'm doing while I'm doing what I'm doing. So, on this fast today, we are fasting from doing unto others what we have not done to ourselves. Which means that we need to analyze how we treat ourselves. One of the biggest things in the work that I do as a hospice chaplain is I work with people who have terminal illnesses, or they have a prognosis of 6 months and less. And what happens is their caregivers are so wrapped up in caring for the patient that the caregiver is unable to care for self. The caregiver misses doctor's appointments for self. They miss engaging in times of being alone. They miss going to hair appointments, right? They miss all of the things that will help them they miss meals. They miss taking their medicines because all the attention is given to the caregiver. It's given to the patient. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but down here that we have this saying that the leaning tree is not always the one to die, to fall first. In other words, it's not always the one that looks like they're going to go down that goes down first. It's sometimes the one that's supposed to be the stronger one goes down first. I have been involved with families where the caregiver has a heart attack. The caregiver has a stroke. Because all of the attention was given to the patient. And rightly so, that person who is sick, who is experiencing this, deserves to be taken care of and has legitimate needs. But it cannot be done at the expense of the caregiver. Well, if you don't understand that one, perhaps you've been on a flight. And in those announcements or those safety tips that we hardly listen to, one of the things that they tell us to do if you are traveling with a minor, and there is a situation, to make sure that you put the oxygen mask on you first. And then on the child. Why is that? Because if you lose oxygen, if you lose your ability to breathe, if you lose your air, you will have nothing to give or to take care of the child. I believe in my sanctified imagination that that's what Jesus is saying. To love your neighbor, to love God as you love yourself. Now listen, Linda. I wish I could say that I have arrived. I wish I could say that I get a star every day when I'm put in this position. But what I am here to say is that I recognize it and I check myself when I'm putting the mask on someone else first. And I can imagine this is a tough situation to be in for a parent, because a mother's intuition is to care for their child first. Which is why if there's a situation during birth and there's a choice to be made to save the life of the mother or the child, that oftentimes the mother would say, let my child live. Can I suggest to us this morning that there is a way for both of us to live? That I can care for you if I've cared for me. And perhaps you're saying, well, Cheryl, what kind of fast is this? Well, it doesn't matter how many times you pull away from food, how many times you pull away from social media, from chocolate, from sweets, from meats, whatever your thing is. If you have not cared for yourself, none of it matters. That's why Jesus would often go to the other side. That's why Jesus is at the bottom of the boat, sleep, fast asleep, that the storm did not faze Jesus. Self-care. So as you go through this day, my prayer is that you would think yourself worthy to care for you. That you would develop the language of a simple N-O. That we emphasize that another person's crises does not always mean an emergence for me. That I have to always stop what I'm doing to care for you, especially when you have lived recklessly. What kind of preacher are you, Sherry? One who loves me, and one who has gotten to the place that I love me so much that there are times that I will put on my oxygen mask first. Because if I am losing oxygen, I cannot care for another. We must get to the place that we can say, I cannot do for others what they will not do for themselves. That I cannot do for others when they have not done it for themselves. Now, I'm not talking about if a person is, in a situation that they really need our help. Well, common sense tells us that we are going to do that. But I'm talking about when a person has lived recklessly, has lived without, just eating, drinking, and being merry, spending up all of their money and then coming to you to take care of their needs because they have taken care of their wants. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, y'all be blessed and make sure you put on your own oxygen mask before you attempt to put on one for somebody else. Now y'all be blessed and may all be well.